be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law.
Wake up! Yep, it's that time again. Vape AM, brought to you by vapers1.com. I'm your host, Anthony Ramella. Well, hey guys, good morning again. Got a couple of things I'm going to talk about today. Now, normally at this time we do a little bit of history, and today I'm going to do a little bit more of history than we normally do. So when I was preparing for the show, I like to look at different things that happened during this day in history, just to kind of keep you guys informed of some things maybe from our past that you don't know about. Well, last night I got a little bit schooled. One of the things that got released today, and it was a really big thing, back in 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson, who became president after Kennedy was assassinated, presented his Great Society plan today. Now, like many of you probably, I had no idea even what that was. Now, I wasn't born until the 70s, and I know a lot of you guys were born a lot after that, but this is something that I didn't really know about, and when I found out what was involved in this, I was kind of impressed. I didn't know a lot about Lyndon B. Johnson, and to be honest with you, this guy was a phenomenal president, and he came on board after the Kennedy assassination when the country was really distraught about that situation and made some amazing things happen in the United States. I'm going to go through a few of these today just to kind of explain what the Great Society plan is, and I promise I won't take a lot of your time, but there's some interesting stuff here. I'm also going to put a link down in the description so you can kind of see the whole thing, but it's kind of impressive. So first off, they cut taxes in America for Americans, for working class people, by 10%. And even despite this tax cut, the revenue for the federal government actually increased. So people spent that money that they kept and kept the economy going and actually increased actually what the federal government was getting from taxes and those types of things. So that was really cool. So that's just one thing. He also helped pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation. He also did the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. He passed the Elementary and Secondary School Education Act, and also the Higher Education Act of 1965. This aided colleges and universities, and it gave them the ability to offer scholarships and grants to people who would not normally be able to go to school. And the main thing for the Great Society was that he wanted to abolish poverty and make racial equality. I think these are great goals to try and achieve. And yeah, they're tough. I mean, it's not going to be the easiest thing to be able to do these things, but I can't believe the number of things that he was actually able to get passed, to put into effect, and honestly, I'm not done yet. So the other thing was the Social Security Act of 1965. This act actually instituted Medicare, which provided health care for senior citizens in the United States, and a Medicaid program that also allowed people who were too poor to afford health insurance to be able to get health care, which is just amazing. I mean, that's a lot of things already, but I'm still not done. He also passed the Urban Mass Transportation Act in 1964, which put $375 million towards building public and private rail lines across the country. $375 million back then was a lot of money. I mean, we're talking probably billions of dollars these days. Now, all of these programs and acts were actually implemented while the United States was actually engaged in the Vietnam War, the space program, and a cold nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union, all right? Today, in our time right now, I don't know anyone else that has actually done that much for our country in such a short period of time. And I think that what I'm trying to get across here today is that we need to focus on real problems that we have here in the United States and find ways to fix them. And I know a lot of people, especially my age and actually older than me, always say, the good old times, or, back then men were really men, and, all of these kind of things. And you know what? It wouldn't matter if it was a man or a woman. I'm impressed with that much dedication to make our country better. Today we have a huge homeless and poverty issue in California, amongst other places. And all it seems to be worried about in California is banning flavors and making sure homeless pets have someone to pay pet support. I want you to see the problem with that. Our country is and will continue to be great, but people like LBJ are the reason for that. They strove to help Americans do better in their lives. They weren't concerned typically with just the money revenue that was coming in, because a lot of those acts cost us money, but they helped American citizens, and that's really what I want to put across to you guys today. Same thing with the vaping. It's harm reduction. This is something that was designed to help Americans to stop smoking and live a healthier lifestyle, and I think it falls right into this. And I think LBJ would actually be putting this as part of his great society if he was still around. Our government's putting tariffs on products to force Americans to pay more money for products because there are no domestic products to choose from. And when a tariff goes to China and you say, oh, good, he's putting that on China, what you don't realize is that that money just gets put onto whoever's buying the product, not who's selling the product, okay? And when they buy the product at a higher rate, you are the ones paying the extra because all they're doing is marking that up. So if you think that the government is putting tariffs on China and they're taking money from China, that is not the case at all. In fact, they're actually taking more money from you. Let's pass laws that help people, and let's make sure that we're striving for this great society instead of striving for a not so great society. So, like I said, a little more in history today than we normally do, but I kind of just wanted to kind of get you up to speed on that. I was impressed. I didn't know anything about the great society. If you'd like to learn more, please check out the links below. All right, we're gonna skip birthdays today since that was a little bit long, and we're gonna go right on to the Wake and Vape news. To be honest with you, last night when I was reading this article again, I laughed out loud. It's the only article that I've read that I actually laughed out loud and got mad all in a few paragraphs. So the article that we're talking about today is North Carolina's Attorney General is suing Juul, okay? After what they called a 7-month investigation, they actually filed suit. And basically what they're claiming is that Juul marketed its products to minors and downplayed the dangers of the effects of nicotine. Now, here's the funny part about this article. North Carolina is home to RJ Reynolds, which is now a subsidiary of British American Tobacco. They make Camels and Newports, and the funniest part about this whole thing is that North Carolina produces more tobacco than any other state. Where does nicotine come from in the first place? So we're going to get rolling on this. We'll go through what I've got written down here. So Stein, which is the Attorney General for North Carolina, is asking Juul to cease all of these activities. Now, he's getting a ruling on this stuff, and when I read through this list, yeah, some of these things sound like they probably should go into effect, but there are a couple other ones that I'm going to point out that are just absolutely crazy. So he wants Juul to cease selling e-cigarettes to minors in North Carolina, which it's not legal, so I don't know why that's even on the list. Selling any flavors other than tobacco or mint in North Carolina. Okay, for those of you out there that don't understand this, the tobacco flavors in e-liquid are not real tobacco. I guess that's something that they just don't understand. Tobacco is a flavoring just like orange or just like strawberry. It's a different flavoring that goes into vegetable glycerin. They're not putting pieces of tobacco in there to flavor vegetable glycerin, okay? This is a flavoring just like anything else. So I don't know why these flavors are okay and other ones aren't, but I digress. All right, he wants them to also stop sending marketing emails to any minors in the state, which is already illegal, so okay. And I can't see Juul targeting minors and sending them emails, but I guess anything's possible. So advertising e-cigarettes products in a way that is intended or likely to appeal to minors, including youth-oriented social media or influencers. I really don't know how they're going to be able to do that. So basically, anything that would appeal to minors, they wouldn't be able to put on there. There's a lot of things that appeal to minors that appeal to everyone. So I think what they're wanting them to do is just basically stop advertising altogether. Now, this is one I actually agree with. Advertising outdoors within 1,000 feet of a school or playground, which I don't think anyone would argue with. Sponsoring any sporting event, entertainment, or charity events in North Carolina, because we never had the Winston Cup for decades. Providing e-cigarettes for free or at a discount. Okay, I'm not so against that. I mean, I understand why that they want to put that in there. But here's the one that actually had me laughing out loud. They want them to cease advertising to any outlet that targets people under the age of 30. How is that possible? Can you think of any other restriction from any other company? I've never even seen alcohol be put under a restriction where they can't advertise to anyone under 30. Plus, how in the world would you accomplish that other than just not advertising at all? I mean, you have like these glasses that you put on that when you're under 30, you just can't see the advertising. It's like those 3D glasses that you put on. It's like, okay, this will blind them from any advertising if they're under 30. I mean, it's just utter ridiculousness. There are days when I read these articles and things like this that I feel like I'm in some kind of a dream world. Like doesn't really exist. Like I'm going to wake up at some point in time because This just blows my mind. A state that is basically murdering people with the amount of tobacco, combustible tobacco, that they produce, and yet they're the ones putting a law out and restrictions for other people. I mean, it absolutely blows my mind. All right, and I think this is the last thing on the list here. Maintain any customer information for all customers in North Carolina who Juul cannot confirm are at least 18 years of age. Well, if we can't confirm they're at least 18 years of age, they're not going to be selling the products to them anyway. And even if they were, do you think they're going to keep a record of that so they can give it to somebody? I mean, this is just insanity. Like I said, I got a little worked up last night because, like I said, I got mad and laughed all at the same time. Now, the Attorney General is asking for civil penalties with Juul, which means money. They're also asking for them to pay towards this unfair or deceptive acts and practices law that they have in place, which just seems funny from a state that actually produces tobacco. And then they also want Juul to reimburse the state for the cost of bringing suit, which is even more money. So basically that's what they're looking for. And the article kind of went on to say that Josh Stein, which is the AG there, basically is just looking for a payout from Juul. And I think that's probably pretty legit. I'm going to read a tweet that he actually sent out just so you guys can see from his words. So I sued Juul today for targeting young people and creating an e-cigarette Wow, I cannot talk. I'm going to start over. I sued Juul today for targeting young people and creating an e-cigarette epidemic among minors. Juul business practices not only reckless, they're illegal. I intend to put a stop to them. We cannot allow another generation of youth to become addicted to nicotine. Okay, you are the Attorney General for North Carolina, okay? What products does North Carolina produce? Well, let's look into that. I thought that was a question I had last night, so I did some research. Tobacco products, cigarettes, pipe, and chewing tobacco, because we cannot have anybody else get addicted to nicotine. That is actually their leading product for the entire state. The state also produces other products than tobacco, which on the top of that list is pharmaceuticals. Imagine that. So big tobacco and pharmaceuticals, once again, going against somebody that's doing harm reduction because it's not filling their pockets with money. I just thought that was absolutely crazy. I have to send out a big thank you to Jim McDonald from Vaping 360. This guy is always on the cutting edge. If you are not going to Vaping 360 and looking at their news articles, you're going to get a lot of that repeated here because I feel like it needs to get out to the masses. But this guy is always on the cutting edge of this. Now, his stories are usually pretty lengthy and there's a lot of information in there, and I can't go over everything on the show. But if you get a minute, there is a link. You can actually go and see this article and read through every step of this process. I'm not making any of this up. I'm not exaggerating any of this. This is legitimately what it says. I got about halfway through the article and I laughed so hard about North Carolina telling a harm reduction company that what they're doing is wrong. It just totally blew my mind. So anyway, as we always do here at Vape AM, we want you to stop smoking or you're gonna die, because that is the most important thing that we want to talk about here. All right. Also, I vape, I vote. If you haven't gotten a shirt yet, get over to vapers1.com. Get a shirt, get a hoodie, stand with us together so that we can combat this ridiculous situation that's going on in the States. This epidemic that they keep talking about, all of the studies that are now coming out are being debunked. Every news article that I see, every news program that I see, every interview when they go to schools, they're pulling 1 or 2 devices out of these schools. And that to me is not an epidemic. If something was an epidemic every day, you should be able to pull 30 or 40 devices without even trying. They cannot put that on the table because it just doesn't exist. They are trying to take away from a harm reduction product so they can keep putting money back in their pockets. All right? Make sure you get over to vapers1.com, check out the website, a lot of great liquids and stuff over there. The more you guys shop, the more I can do these shows. So they are the sponsors for the show, and we greatly appreciate them allowing us to do this. So guys, I'm going to get out of here. Got to get out of here. Got to get a shower. Got to get on with the rest of my day. But I hope that you look over this information. I hope that you spread the word. Keep on vaping, and I'll see you tomorrow.